Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast where we bring authors and industry experts together to talk about all things books and make the journey to authorship just a little bit easier. My name is Larissa Sohan, and I am the CEO of Next Page Publishing, a hybrid publishing house where we help entrepreneurs write books to grow their businesses. Now, I'm on a mission to help aspiring authors feel like they are in control of the publishing journey and that they are supported by a team of experts who genuinely want the best for them and their books. If you are in the very beginning of your journey, or maybe you have a manuscript that you're finished and you're not sure how to get it out into the world, I encourage you to reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net. You can schedule your free discovery call and find out how our team of experts can make your journey to being a published author easy, smooth, and successful. Now, without further ado, let's get on to our next amazing guest and make your journey to authorship a little less complicated. Welcome back to another episode of I Wrote That. My name is Larissa Sohan. I am your host, and I'm really excited today to be here with someone who has been in my circle for quite a long time at this point, overlapping between networking groups and masterminds and all that good stuff. Today I have Jana Nixa, and she is here because she is an international best-selling author. She's a speaker, and she's the founder of a high-ticket clients on repeat and the creator of the six-figure blueprint. Now, Jana was the top-performing sales executive for over 2 decades with 40,000 sales calls under her belt, and she has sold multi-millions, and her main strategy was never the bro way that they told her to do it. And that's what I love about her sales. And I'm hoping she says like my favorite line that I learned from her and I stole from her. I'm just going to say it, mixing the woo with the do. Once you said that, Jana, I think it was in a networking call. I was like, yes, I am forever stealing that. That is beautiful. I love it. She is walking proof that you can be successful, create incredible offers that change lives, and sell them with ease and flow, and lead with an open heart. Now she shows others how to do the same, the non-bro woo and do way. When you listen to her speak, you'll know that she is one of the most heartfelt and powerful communicators you've ever heard. And I know that because, again, our circles have clashed in multiple ways. And it's why I chased you so bad for this podcast, because I knew you had to come on here. So welcome, Jana.
Wow, Larissa, thank you so much. I don't know that I've ever been chased for a podcast before. So this is like...
Ooh, put your celebrity status on, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things when you're starting out as an entrepreneur or you're trying to grow your platform as an author, there's going to be, you would know this, in the beginning of our selling period, it's yes to everyone and everything. And then we get more experience and we get better and more confident. And then it's yes to some, and then it's yes to the right. And I think, Jana, for me, you were yes to the right. You were the people that I wanted to have in my circle as my referral partners, as the people to go to do affiliate work with. You were one of them. And so when I say chased, yeah, I do mean chased.
Well, again, it's an honor. And I completely agree with you. I really think, as we up level internally and as our business up levels externally, like we do have to be, and I don't know that the word selective is the right word, but let's just say there's no shortage of podcasts out there. There's no shortage of networking groups out there or coffee chats. And so at some point you really do kind of have to like set your boundaries around, okay, like what's the best utilization of my time, And of course, like most of us, like open-hearted entrepreneurs, yeah, I could just be on everything and have coffee chats with everybody. But to anyone listening out there, we wear a lot of hats, so we really have to be a little more protective of like where are we going to do our thing, right?
And that's the word I was going to use over the word selective, was protective. Yeah. Of protecting your energy and protecting your creativity and your zone of genius. And now I know you call yourself, well, not just you call yourself, you are the conversion queen. And because this is a show about books, I am going to tie the book angle in there, but that's confidence to start calling yourself the conversion queen, someone who is so good at selling that they're going to claim royalty in it. I love that. So what has led you to this status of conversion queen?
Well, interesting. It was my mentor and that called me that. And her name is Eileen Wilder. So she's definitely like, she's shared stages with Tony Robbins. So when she deemed me as she's the queen of the stage, and when she said you're the conversion queen, or I think she even started with the queen of sales, I was like, yes, I will take on the yes. That is my persona for sure. But to really answer your question, how do I say this? When I came into this space, I didn't realize how little experience a lot of the coaches had, you know, and I'm not like, I think it's great. Like you get out there and you do your thing. But when it came to certain things like sales, I'll never forget a few years ago, I had a female sales coach try to pick me up in the DMs. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, how long, where'd you learn to sell? She's like, oh, a couple books and a seminar, you know, and I'm just like, oh, okay. You know, she's like, how about you? I'm like, well, like 21 solid years of doing it daily. And so, you know, at first I didn't realize that that was sort of an anomaly. But over time, I've realized that that's a lot, you know, and whenever I tell, especially like bigger coaches or maybe my mentor, they're like, whoa. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't know what you don't know. And then when I started seeing other people's reactions as I'm navigating this space, it's like, claim it, Jana, claim it, because you spent a lot of time perfecting your craft. You walk that walk and you actually can truly talk the talk.
Yeah.
So I guess that's like my very long-winded answer there.
No, that was perfect. And it brings me to the revelation I've had as an entrepreneur. And sometimes you get those clients that come through your door and they ask you for like your credentials. And that for me is like my number one red flag of like, I don't want to work. I want someone that values my experience. Yes. I want someone that sees that I've published 10 plus books. I've helped over 60 authors, that I'm actively writing, that I am an author. Like, you know what I mean? Like we are doing what we're asking them to do. And that speaks volumes. And I think that in a large part is what coaches don't understand. They think they have to say what they want their clients to think they want, but really they just need to show that they're on the journey themselves and that they've Absolutely. Walked some of it. Like, I think that's so huge. So I'm going to ask you about the book. And I know when I asked you very specifically, you paused and you paused hard. So you were part of at least one collaboration project, correct?
One collaboration project so far, yes.
Yeah. And so I think that pause of like, oh, I didn't know you were an author. And then the pause, yes. That's so common for collaboration authors. And I just want to confirm for anybody that has done that and feels inclined to have the same pause when they're talking to a solo author. You are not. You don't pause. You are an author. You've claimed that status. You've been published. People that you don't know have been reading your work in a published format. You've gone through editing. You've gone through the design process. You've done everything a solo book does. You just did it a little bit shorter, a little bit quicker than a solo book. So how was that journey for you?
Well, you know, I love that you asked me this, and no one's ever asked me this, and maybe because we don't always talk about books, but what I love about it, you know, something that I really try to instill in my clients, because sometimes I get some of the newer people, right? And they are so in a hurry to like, I just need my clients, blah, 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 blah. They forget the journey. And, you know, I like to call it like you're building a house. Like we have to enjoy all the different stages, and we have to learn. There's no way you don't just get to put the roof on. That's not how it works. Like, and you want to
roof sitting on the ground. Like,
so good. Yay. Okay. You know, and so like trying to fall in love with the person you're becoming through this process, the independence, the skill set, the mindset upgrades. And so with that, what I really enjoyed about it was really where I could just, it was all about like turning negatives into a positive, making it a great day. And it was when I really wrote out my origin story for the first time. And so, oh my gosh, it makes me kind of teary-eyed because, at that time, like I didn't know, but that's what I've taken and then take to podcast on stages when I'm doing workshops. And it's just, it's always going to be a version of that. And I just find that just so cool because at the time I was like, sure, okay, this sounds fun, but just not even understanding how the things that you're doing in the reps that you're putting in right now, in things that you're like, okay, I'm not really sure what this is for. You just don't know how it's going to serve you and pay off later. And so, one of my mentors says, it works on you before it works for you. And so that just reminds me of that lesson because I really did it at the time, just more out of curiosity and didn't really think much of it other than that. But now I see it was such a beautiful process and to go through it with, a professional to have like, oh, now I have an origin story and it's published. Perfect, And so it was an incredible journey for me.
That is so awesome. I think I'm going to steal another quote. Apparently, I'm just the queen of stealing quotes at this point. I had I don't know if he identified as a shaman or what his title was, but he said, you have to feel to store it and you have to feel to heal it. And I think so many of us look at our past as trauma, and then we really try not to look at our past because we don't want to. We can't see it yet for the beauty that it has given us today. And by writing out your origin story, it's honoring all the shit you went through and the fact that you're still here. And the fact that you're doing now something that you think is worthy writing about. Like, Absolutely. That is just so cool. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was definitely a process. But yeah, it's just made we don't know when we're going through those things, like where it's going to lead, and it's just, I don't know. The way I see it is, to quote again, Rumi, it's the wound is where the light enters. And so, just really leaning into and being proud of where you've come from and who you are now because of it.
Right.
And just taking that time to really reflect on that, because I think so many of us, when it comes to, it's like, okay, I got to go write my origin story really quickly because I got to get ready for the thing. Whereas I was able to really dig into that because it was going in a book and it had such a powerful lesson in the end that it was going in a book around how to take something when life gives you lemons, how to make lemonade, kind of story. And so yeah, it was a really cool process.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's very, very cool. So is there a solo book in your future? You went through it once. Are you ready to get rid of the pause before the yes, I am an author?
I'm sure one day. However, I am truly a talker. And so I don't ever see myself, and I'm sure you'll have plenty to say about this, so I'm just going to tee it up to you. I don't ever see myself sitting down with a screen and just going for it. There will have to be a different creative process for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get me to write emails, Larissa, weekly, much less a book.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to pull this up. I just downloaded an app because I'm a writer, obviously. I've been a writer my whole life. I did procedure writing for 12 years and it was the most soul-sucking thing I've ever done. And now I do fun writing. But time has been an issue for me as of late, and the time versus the sheer number of book ideas that I have in my head. So I downloaded this app called Dictate. And it's actually been pretty rock solid and I've been writing blogs with it. And so I'll be, I don't know, please don't flag me for safety issues. But while I'm driving, I've been dictating my next blogs and throwing out the ideas, and then I can just export them to my computer. So little sweet nugget there. Dictate has been really good for me. I didn't have to pay for it. It was free. And it's been working pretty solid. I'm sure at some point they'll be like, girl, you need to pay for it. You've been using this a lot. So far, I haven't hit that limit, but yeah, there are lots of creative ways. I know even a lot of people turn their keynote speech into books and things like that, right? Or vice versa, they go the opposite. But speaking and authorship are definitely two that go, like, speaking's in this hand, authorship's in this hand, and then you got this beautiful orb in the middle, right? They go together for sure. Now, I do want to ask, you've been through a lot of stuff to get here, and I haven't read your origin story, and we're going to make sure to put the link to your book in the show notes so that you can grab it, or like whoever's listening can grab it. If you're listening and you're like, oh, I want to know what that story is, I want to know what the other stories are, we'll put the show note in there, and I want to grab a copy as well because I like to read my guest stuff, obviously. And the fact that I didn't know until I was reading your bio was that you were an author is like a bad on me. I should have known that. But what was the moment along the journey that was like, oh, I know how to do this mentorship. I know how to teach people. I know how to close that gap of I read a few books and now I can do to like, oh no, let's actually do some experience stuff.
So as far as when I decided to be a coach,
Yeah. Yeah. What was that like? Oh, wait a second. I don't have to do sales for the rest of my life. I can actually step into the teaching side.
yeah. Well, gosh, it was kind of gradual. So I'll try to like give you the Cliff Notes version. So it was several aha moments over those 2 decades. The first of which being, I cannot seem to do this the way they told me to. I'm uncomfortable. It got to be like, like crying all the time sort of situation. And unfortunately, a hurricane hit my territory. So, but the silver lining in that was there was this freedom all of a sudden for me, because it was like, well, they can't fire me now, or what are they going to be like the jerks that fired the poor girl who lost her client? You know what I mean? So all of a sudden I had this freedom, this creative freedom. I did it my way. And it turned out the more I stepped into doing it my authentic, the authentic sales coach, right? The authentic way, in it without unbeknownst to me was like really landing. And it was almost like a 180. I went from like, oh my God, here comes that sales girl to, hey, geez, we were just talking about such and such. What do you, and I'm like, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really that shift in energy and that shift in intention and really stop trying to be something I'm not. And so that was kind of like the first like phase. And then there was so much success through that, different companies, same sort of results. I mentored a lot of other people and I loved it. And I spoke for some meetings, national meetings, and I loved it. And about 10 years ago, I had my spiritual awakening. And so all of that kind of combined was there was just more for me, was like the message I got. And so I spent a lot of time, learning different crafts, because at this point I was just kind of playing. Larissa, turns out when you're good at sales, you don't have to work 24/7. So I had a lot of extra time, and I was a new mom. So I still had extra time. So I started just taking like NLP and hypnosis and just really diving into like the works of Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and just like human potential. And so, long story short, I really discovered my passion in my 30s. Like before that, I think my passion was like shopping and like hanging out with friends. I know, whatever.
No judgment. Trust me.
City phase. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I identified with Carrie Bradshaw for a while, certain aspects of her, I'll just say. So anyway, I found more depth in my 30s. And so long story short, I went through that discovery process for many years. And then it really became very evident to me that my first coach I hired, I was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, maybe some of your audience can relate. Like, this is my genius zone. I have this skill set that I've like worked through and really works for other people, especially females. And then I have this passion, and that's like getting out of your own way and like removing the voice in your head and, all of that. And so she just said to me, well, Jana, why don't you put these two things together? And I was like, well, that makes perfect sense.
Oh, thank you. I needed that.
So that's kind of how it was born, because, anybody out there that's listening, sales isn't what you say. It's not scripts. And like, if you say this, and that's why it didn't work for me. It's an inner thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And while absolutely that can be taught, It really is learning how to navigate conversations clearly, confidently, and truly showing up for that other person. And
Mhm.
so it's an inside job, learning this process more so than anything else. I mean, yes, there's strategy. And of course, I work with my clients on that as well. But ultimately, we have to get out of our own way. We have to drop what we think sales is in order
Mhm.
to really be successful at it.
Attention, all aspiring authors. Are you ready to turn your book dreams into reality? Look no further than Author Allies, your ultimate companion on the journey to becoming a published author. Picture this: a membership site that offers structure, accountability, skill development, and unwavering support to bring your book ideas to life. That's exactly what Author Allies provides. Dive into weekly writing workshops where you can focus on your goals and stay motivated. Need expert advice? Our monthly Ask the Expert sessions connect you directly with industry professionals for valuable insights. Engage with fellow members through our Beta Reader Switch program, perfect for refining your manuscript before publication. Get access to a list of our verified resources so that when it's time to edit, design, and publish your book, you know where to turn. You can also enhance your craft with our writing training modules. Complete the exercises designed to elevate your skills and participate in the challenges. And as an added bonus, you can enjoy exclusive discounts on our future programs to help you streamline your publishing services. And if you're looking for a little bit more personalized advice, you will have access as a member to our one-on-one coaches to provide tailored support from our experienced professionals. Your literary dreams are within reach within our community of like-minded authors and expert guidance. Visit nextpagepublishing.net to join the membership and create a community around you and your book that guarantees your success. I need more of you in my life. I'm just going to put that out there right now because you're right. And there's so many things I want to chase in there. I'm going to share. I just signed a client this morning, and she's a soul aligned client. Absolutely going to be a phenomenal ride with her. And one of the things that I think sold her was not in the words we had. It was not in one of the meetings. And then I'm going to mix the woo with the do here. I had a vision about her. And I felt that we were meant to work together. And I sent her an email and I told her as much. And she said, girl, me too. And that was it. That was the signing moment. It was not in the words. It was not in the emails I sent. It was in the feeling. It was in the energy. It was in the vibe. And just watch a bro marketer try and sell you that. Like,
Right.
never would they ever
Right.
talk about that. But that is the energetic, feminine side of selling
Yes.
that I love, that what you're bringing. Like, I just think that's so cool because there's so much. And I also want to talk about the 30s. I'm in my 30s now. I'm 33. And I went into my 30s absolutely petrified because I always heard like the dirty 30s. Like, like it's gonna be like a grind and you've got the career and the house and the kids, and now you're just supposed to do it until you die, basically. And then now I'm 33 and 3 years in, and this has been my best decade ever, like to
Yes.
date. Like the spiritual side of it, the finding myself, the moving into my passion. Like if you're in your 30s like me and you're like, holy shit, trust me, you can do this. The 30s can be everything that you want from it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a plug to my 30-year-olds. But so Jana, there are a lot of, like you said, there are rules to selling. There are certain things that we have to do. We have to do the follow-up emails. We have to do the check-ins, the reminders to come to the sales calls, all those things. But what are some of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs are facing when they try and build their business? Because even I alluded to it in the beginning. In the beginning, it's yes, 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 yes. And then in the middle, it's like, yes, maybe. And then it's like, well, hold on, I get to choose. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing?
Well, I think one of the biggest pitfalls that I see, especially with my clients, and let me know if you feel like this is people that you've worked with too. I'd be curious. But I think because so many of us are now building a business or starting a business in the content information age, right? More so than it was even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The people get so focused on content and they think that's their business. And so then they're like, I'm being consistent and I'm adding value. Where are my clients? And I'm like, I have to really undo a lot of the programming that's been done around that because we're not all influencers. We're business owners. It's a different intention when you're creating content. It isn't just about being consistent and adding value. And it's far more about connecting and having conversations. And so, when you have people expecting like the content, and they're spending probably 75 to 90% on this piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then they think it's going to do all the heavy lifting. They are sadly mistaken. And so, don't get me wrong to all of you marketers out there. I love marketing, but I think people are so heavy on it right now. And they forget that sales and marketing are two different things. That if, that just gets them in the door, but then it's all about what you do with them after that. And to get them to go from, oh, wow, here's Jana or here's Larissa, she's cool, to an actual paying client.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that piece. And then, the other trap I see people fall into is I have to send cold DMs 24/7, and so there's so much gray in here, and people just shy away from the actual income producing activities, which is the sales piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it is a little more uncomfortable than like playing in Canva and putting out pretty posts, right? I mean, we actually really have to hone in that craft and put ourselves out there, ask questions, close, and content, unless you're just selling low ticket. And even in low ticket, I would argue that you still got to get really good at messaging.
Mm-hmm.
But you're especially selling higher ticket, content is not going to do that for you. And neither is, just sending a couple of DMs. Like, you really have to learn how to understand your client and have conversations with them, whether that's in sales calls or in the DMs or, through email, like however it may be. But we can't shy away from that part because it feels icky or salesy. It doesn't have to be. And I guess that's really ultimately my message here is, yeah, it's icky and salesy the way you think it is, because it is icky and salesy. But that doesn't mean that's just a way. It's not the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would probably be the biggest thing I see with a lot of my clients. But what do you think?
It's the gurus for me that really I kind of want to knock in some kneecaps sometimes. So I'll give you a little bit of a shortish story here. When I started my company, I'm ex-corporate, and in ex-corporate you have to do the training and the certification before you can do the skill. And I didn't understand that I could learn by doing. So I signed with a relatively large guru. I paid $18,000+ to be put in this program. And I remember being in their sales training component. And this company touted themselves as a multi-million-dollar company. They had huge, group meetings. Lots of us were there. And I was like, okay, what they're doing has to be working, right? So you want to listen to them. But I was doing their sales training, and they had a call that they had posted on their like a true sales call that they had posted for us to listen to and learn the ways of the masters, right? And it was the most uncomfortable call I have ever listened into. This poor woman was basically bullied and guilted and shamed into signing with them. And once I watched this video and I had this icky, that feeling where you're like, no, that's not for me. And I started looking at who I was in the room with, and I started looking at how unhappy they were. And I started to see like those rose-colored, well, I paid $18,000. This must be the answer. Those rose-colored glasses came off, and I was like, oh, ew. They didn't get me because I wanted to be here. They got me because they shamed me into being here. They told me that if I didn't do this, I would fail. They made me feel like I couldn't do it any other way. And that's what I see a lot of people coming to me. And in the publishing world, it's the same, right? Like, traditional publishing is all about taking advantage of authors and extorting them in their genius and taking money out of their pockets in a lot of ways. And hybrid publishers like myself have started to come in and trying to fix that. But we're still at the limitation of the dollar, right? Like, we can only do so much because we're usually self-funded in a lot of these cases. And so trying to mix that that trust and that connection with the service is so important, because I can say for a fact the people in my programs are happy. They are so happy because I treat them like humans. And I lean into that woo and that do and the connection. And I send them, um, my favorite is edible arrangements. The little the strawberry dipped flower bouquets, right? Those are gorgeous. And so if they have one in their city that I can find, I send them one. It's like a welcome gift, or it's a birthday gift, but it's like, you're a human. I don't put them into a cog. And so that's the thing that I think I see a lot of entrepreneurs falling into this trap, is that they have to listen to the guru. And if it's working for the guru, it has to work for them, and they can't change it. And if they've changed it, they fail. So they just give up. I saw you nodding. So that resonates, right? Like yeah.
That is the biggest mission. Well, I didn't know this when I came here, but after I sort of took a spin around the block, that became my biggest mission. I started in this industry to help people really step into who they are, like fully, and just own their value in their genius zone, right? That they know that they want to help other people with. But then I saw all of this, the bro marketing and the bro sales. And I mean, I was really sort of like, what is that word? Just godsmacked, it's like, I can't even, is this really happening here? I expected it over in corporate, but sheesh, and my biggest thing in all of this, the mission on top and underneath the mission, is I don't want good people who know in their heart of hearts that they're here to change the world or to transform lives. And I don't want the idea of having to fit themselves, this big, expanded, conscious, beautiful, heart open self, into this BS. And I say BS.
Oh yeah.
Icky sales box or marketing box where I have to manipulate, force, and convince people, because, it doesn't have to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would ascertain the only reason it is because they've never had either the courage or the experience to try it at a more conscious and loving way. They're selling from their ego and from fear, and not from love and service. And that is why I do what I do, because there's an entire, just like power versus force. Maybe your audience is familiar with David Hawkins and the Hawking scale. There's force and fear, and there's power and love. Mm-hmm. And, we live in duality. So if there's this version, guess what, everybody? There's a whole nother version available to you. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of the people that is really trying to usher in more of that, because we don't want you to give up on yourself because you had a bad sales experience. Just know that there's a whole other side to that coin. Mm-hmm. We just haven't had a lot of experience with it yet.
And I think this is a perfect segue to wrapping up the episode here, but they don't have the confidence. They don't have someone that's leading the way, and they don't have someone behind them like you to show them and be that crutch for a little while. Be that confidence of like, it can work and it will work. Just trust the process, learn, grow, lean into it. Because sometimes it feels soft and feminine, and like the world is telling us that can't possibly work. So we lean out. And instead, it's time to lean in. It's time to lean into our energetic side, lean into human connection and into that feminine energy. So how can people reach you, and how can they get you in their corner?
So on almost all handles, I'm the authentic sales coach. I think everything now. I just updated LinkedIn too. So I believe, and then theauthenticsalescoach.com is where you can find me. I did bring for your audience a free gift if they would like to experience like what this can look like from more of that woo and do perspective. It's called my pre-sales call ritual. And what it does is it gets you in, if any of you listening were like, oh, that, when I'm talking about like the love and the service and, that sort of energy, it gets you into that non-attachment, neutrality, service, and then it also combines like, are you prepared for the call? You know what I mean? Like, do you know who you're talking to? Right. So just it combines both of those so beautifully. And I've had even people who aren't even my client yet use it, who had never gotten a client or hadn't gotten a client in a long time and literally got a client on their next call.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does work. And it really is what so many of us are being called to do more now is build our business with that freedom and flow piece and not so much of this force and hustle and make it happen. Do we have to work hard? Yes, but we don't have to force everything.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two different things. And
I
so
think we can't force. I mean, honestly, that's what I've learned is the moment I release something is the moment it usually comes back to me.
yes.
If you love it, let it go, kind of a thing. The corny old adage, right? Of the bird in the wind, and it'll come back to you. But that's what it feels like in a lot of ways is once we release that we need this, that we need this money, we need this client, and we get into that like almost groveling state of mind, even though we don't look like it on the outside, our energy is putting it off.
And
I love that.
up.
The pre-sale ritual. I think that's great. I'm going to check it out too, because I know that's exactly in alignment with how I would sell as well. So that's beautiful. Okay. So we're going to put the links to that in the show notes. My last question, which is my favorite question. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
I think I would kind of lean into what we were talking about earlier. Two things, because being an author is probably, I would imagine, very similar to building a business. Like it's a process. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And so like giving yourself grace through that process, and instead of just always focusing on that finished product, like fall in love with the person you're becoming through the process. And I know everybody's like, focus on the process, but I'm serious. Is so long as we always want it to be done in the box checked, you're never going to enjoy where you are because you're always going to be off in the future. So enjoying that, one thing. And then for anybody that's like me, find a way that works for you. Download Larissa's app, where you can just dictate it. Because what I have found in running my business is the things that I don't enjoy, eventually I won't do. Mm-hmm. And so the trick is to really find a way to do the thing that makes it as most enjoyable as possible for you. And we live in a beautiful age now where you can do that. Luckily, it's not like all you get is your quill and your paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to make fun of my old boss for his stone tablet that he would chisel into, right? Like the times have changed. We don't need to think of authors as secluded in a wooded cabin for 6 months of the year that don't have lives and they come out all bushman looking. Like, no, we can do this while driving our car, even though that might be unsafe. We can talk to our phones and we can hire ghostwriters and we can get coaches and all these things to help us think beyond that stone chisel into the modern age. Absolutely.
And that is the beauty about, being alive now. You have options. So we get to choose how we want to do it, So asking that question, how do I want to? Not how do I need to or tell me what to do, but how do I want to make this work? Mm-hmm. Because that's where your power is.
It's the same with sales. How do I want this to feel? How do I want this to go? Right? I love that. Thank you so much, Jana. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of I Wrote That. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our show so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. And if this has led you to some inspiration to want to get started on your own authorship journey, whether you just have an idea or you have a manuscript that you're ready to publish, reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net. And we will match you up with our team of experts to make the journey simple, easy, and smooth.